So what's going to happen is that the prosecution will submit a sentencing memorandum, the defense will do the same, and the prosecution will argue that there are aggravating circumstances here. The prosecution, I think, will argue that there is evidence that and facts that the jury heard, which are related to the crimes that he was convicted of, that indicate that there should be prison time in this case.
Gene Deal has broken the code of silence, and the tremors are being felt from coast to coast. Behind closed doors, the hip-hop elite is panicking. Why? Because one of Diddy's most trusted former insiders is now telling the world what so many have only whispered about in dark rooms and encrypted texts. Gene isn't just some disgruntled employee. He was there, right in the belly of the beast. And now he's claiming that Diddy was not only connected to the human trafficking empire, currently under federal investigation, but that he may have played a role in orchestrating one of the most iconic incidents in music history, the slaying of Shakur.
They did not want East Coast rappers to get big. They were suppressing all new artists that was coming out of New York. Jay and Diddy was doing that.
The allegations are damning. Gene Deal has gone on record multiple times insisting that Diddy had deep operational ties to both the FBI and the criminal underworld, and that those worlds often blurred in dangerous ways. If Gene is telling the truth, then this isn't just another fallen celebrity. This is someone who built an empire atop manipulation, surveillance, and violence. According to Deal, Diddy didn't just have secrets, he was the secret. The eye of the storm, the master of plausible deniability. And now, decades after the bullets stopped flying on the Las Vegas Strip, the storm might finally be catching up with him.
Down. That's one reason, other than the Irv Gotti that 50 was going through and the poison they was putting in about 50, he had to go elsewhere to California, or with Jay and not with Dre and Eminem to get a deal.
The stakes? Monumental. Because these claims aren't being made in some dusty podcast corner. They're colliding with real-time courtroom chaos. Federal prosecutors have already shocked the public by admitting a key witness, referred to as Victim 3 in the superseding indictment, is missing. Not just unreachable, gone. No confirmed location, no communication, not even a whisper from her legal team. According to court filings, she had explosive testimony ready to go. Testimony that reportedly involved decades of coercion, illicit parties, and secret recordings allegedly orchestrated by Combs himself. Now, that testimony might never reach the light of day. And behind the scenes, people are asking the one question everyone's afraid to voice out loud. Did someone make her disappear?
Is that New York rappers was getting 80 to 100, 800 to 1.2 million, some larger than that, and sign with labels back then.
We're not the only ones asking. Legal insiders are describing this as a Ghislaine Maxwell-style operation, but with designer suits and platinum records. Some former employees even compare Diddy's longtime chief of staff to Maxwell herself, alleging she coordinated escorts, orchestrated substance-filled events, and managed non-disclosure agreements like a mafia accountant balancing hush money. Court documents claim there were freak-offs, filmed sessions where women were forced to perform while Diddy watched and recorded for leverage. Victims say he threatened to release those tapes if they didn't comply, and one federal agent reportedly described the discovery of over 1,000 bottles of baby oil during a raid on his mansion as evidence of an operation that was organized, industrial, and relentless. But the temperature keeps rising because Gene Deal isn't the only one cracking under the weight of the past. Enter Suge Knight. Locked behind bars, stripped of his empire, and with nothing left to lose, he's now adding fuel to the fire. From his prison cell, Suge has allegedly confirmed key details of the long-circulating theory that Diddy placed a bounty on Shakur's head, millions reportedly, just to make the problem go away. According to recently unsealed court documents from the Shakur case, Diddy was named over 40 times in a covert police interview with Keefe D., the last surviving suspect in Shakur's 1996 drive-by. Keefe told authorities that Diddy didn't just encourage violence, he demanded it. The words, allegedly, "I'll give anything for that dude's head," meaning Suge, meaning Shakur, meaning both.
And that was to destroy East Coast rap. And what I mean by that, and I know people gonna be like, yo, Gene is out of his mind and everything like that. Check this out, brother.
And guess what? According to Keefe's story, that bounty wasn't some whispered threat. It was a public declaration, allegedly made in front of dozens of people. Then, just days later, Shakur was ambushed on the Vegas Strip, shot multiple times, passed away days later in a hospital bed. Diddy has always denied any involvement, calling these claims pure fiction. But prosecutors now have transcripts, tapes, witnesses, and they're not laughing. As this trial rolls forward, more dots are connecting. A former LA detective insists that Keefe D's confession should have cracked the case wide open years ago, but celebrity and silence kept it buried. Now that the dam's breaking, the implications are staggering. If even a fraction of this is true, it suggests Diddy used his stature to manipulate everything from police investigations to witness testimonies. Gene Deal, for his part, claims the mogul has been an FBI informant for years, feeding them crumbs while protecting his empire from full exposure. And the whispers about missing witnesses, vanished files, and silenced accusers, they're suddenly looking less like conspiracy and more like strategy.
There's different things that's not really beef though. That's just competitive.
Competitiveness.
All right, so you and Diddy, you and Puff cool?
No, I don't really rock with him
okay,
like that.
damn, all right.
Gene has already said he's been threatened. One source close to him claims he was recently assaulted in what looked less like a mugging and more like a warning. And here's the thing, he's not backing down. If anything, the threats have made him louder, bolder, determined to take this to the bitter end, even if it means naming names and burning every bridge he once guarded. Meanwhile, insiders say more former employees are thinking of stepping forward, but fear they'll be the next victim 3. And let's talk about her. Victim 3. She was supposed to be the prosecution's ace card, someone who would expose how deep this thing goes. She'd allegedly told authorities she wanted to use her real name in court. She was ready to testify. And then, radio silence. She's no longer in New York. The feds can't find her. Her lawyer won't return calls. And the prosecution has already admitted they might have to go forward without her. Now think about that for a second. A woman prepared to name names, expose a decade of abuse, and tie Diddy directly to federal crimes, vanishes, gone before the trial even begins. People inside the courtroom say this could derail the entire case. Others aren't so sure, because if Gene Deal, Suge Knight, and the mounting evidence around Keefe D are to be believed, then this story isn't just about a missing witness. It's about a man who may have built a billion-dollar brand while orchestrating chaos in the shadows. Diddy has denied everything. His lawyers are spinning hard, painting the freak-offs as private intimacy between consenting adults, dismissing the videos seized from his mansions as irrelevant. But prosecutors aren't budging. They say what they've found on film, in testimony, and buried in NDA agreements is the kind of evidence that locks people up for life.
Don't trust nobody. In Hollywood, specifically, when you get there, a lot of people don't know how to say no. That's the difference between New York City and California.
And this missing witness isn't the only chilling twist. Federal agents say Diddy used jailhouse phone access to secretly coordinate with outside contacts, allegedly manipulating witnesses from behind bars. 3-way calls, unauthorized access, code words. This wasn't panic, this was planning. And it's that kind of coordination that's giving prosecutors reason to believe they're not just looking at a morally bankrupt celebrity, they're staring down the mastermind of a multi-decade criminal enterprise. The feds are already calling it R. Kelly meets Epstein meets Hollywood. And here's the scariest part. They haven't even shown all their cards yet. Because the most damning evidence, the stuff that ties the human trafficking case directly to the old school LA violence, it might be sitting in hard drives, wiretaps, and witness statements that haven't even been introduced in court.
Jay-Z got his ass whooped by his sister-in-law on camera. What's her name? Solange. He got his ass. The feds ain't step in and do nothing. The feds don't care about you getting your ass whooped.
Meanwhile, Suge Knight is allegedly willing to testify. He's already told sources that what he knows could shatter the image of Mr. Bad Boy once and for all. And when asked whether Diddy was scared of Shakur back in the day, Keefe D's response, on tape, was instant. He didn't say a specific dollar amount, but he wanted the man's head. In fact, according to Keefe, when Diddy ran into his crew after Shakur was gone, he wouldn't even make eye contact. He was just watching the car. He wasn't paying attention to none of them girls, he said. He was tripping, like this dude's scared. And if that's true, then the real question is this. What else is he scared of coming out? And if that's true, then the real question is this. What else is he scared of coming out? Because according to 3 former employees who once worked at Diddy's properties in Miami and Los Angeles, there's something else. Something far more explosive than anything that's hit the courtroom so far. They call it the Vault, a private, password-protected archive said to be filled with digital footage, tapes, and encrypted files collected over decades. Not just grainy surveillance clips or home videos. No, this is allegedly the holy grail of leverage. Evidence captured at the infamous freak-offs, where sources say phones were confiscated, NDs were handed out like party favors, and no one left without leaving a piece of themselves behind. On camera. What's in the vault? That's the million-dollar mystery prosecutors are chasing. Former Bad Boy affiliates have whispered that the archive includes everything from high-profile guests engaging in illegal activity to compromised footage of music executives, athletes, and even government-connected figures. And not just participants, allegedly victims too. Some too young, some too impaired to consent, and some, like victim 3, who may have been preparing to testify until someone reminded them just how much the vault could still destroy.
Let's talk about the filth that's starting to come out in the early days of the Diddy trial. This, of course, is P. Diddy. Surprise, surprise, he's a creep. Surprise, surprise, he's done horrible things.
One former producer who toured Diddy's LA mansion in 2017 said he saw a server room behind a locked panel in the studio hallway, manned by what he described as tech guys who didn't look like they worked in music at all. The implication? This wasn't about art, it was about control. And if that's even half true, we're not just looking at one man's downfall, we're looking at an insurance policy built on exploitation. If prosecutors crack the vault, or if someone leaks what's inside, it won't just be Diddy going down. There are A-list careers hanging by a thread, which brings us to Cassie. She was never supposed to speak, not with a $5 million NDA reportedly in place, not with the psychological toll she's said to have endured, and not with Diddy's legal army ready to pounce. But she broke ranks. She stepped forward, and when she did, everything changed. Her testimony isn't just about personal harm, it's about the entire system. The manipulation, the grooming, the way powerful people used intimacy like currency, traded favors like poker chips, and silenced their victims with threats, payouts, and isolation.
I'm sorry, I'm just I'm in this moment right now. This is crazy. Sorry. People don't really know how much what it does to you when something that you love is taken from you and thrown away like it don't even matter, and then they move on with their lives and you're stuck. You're stuck during those years. You're still stuck 21 years later.
Cassie's case laid the groundwork for everything that followed. She named names, she gave dates, she handed over evidence. Her lawsuit, though settled, triggered the federal investigation that led to search warrants, raids, and the uncovering of the vault's possible existence. And now, as federal prosecutors line up other victims to take the stand, Cassie's courage may have opened a floodgate. But insiders say she's still in danger. Multiple close friends have allegedly changed phone numbers. One claimed her email was hacked. And though Diddy denies all wrongdoing, the timing of these disruptions is raising serious alarms.
And then what's the stuff that's happening with Wendy Williams? Do you think this is all connection to? Of course!
But Cassie isn't the only one risking it all. Gene Deal is still talking. Suge Knight, locked away but far from powerless, continues to feed information to anyone who listen. And what they're saying now isn't just about Diddy, it's about the culture he helped create, the code of silence, the weaponization of fame, the way an entire generation of young artists got sucked into a machine that promised them wealth and delivered trauma. According to Gene, Diddy wasn't the exception, he was the blueprint. Even now, federal agents are sifting through mountains of evidence seized during the March raids. They found firearms, cash, NDA agreements, and one high-ranking investigator reportedly told an insider that they had recovered external drives with video folders labeled by date and initials. That's not evidence. That's a catalog, a time-stamped digitized map of Diddy's empire, and potentially his undoing.
You understand? I think that they don't want, if they was in any of those freak-off tapes, if they played a part in any of those Diddy sessions, they don't want it to get out to the general public to make up their brand.
The question now is who else gets dragged in? Multiple reports claim Diddy's inner circle included celebrities, industry moguls, and even political donors. If those tapes exist, and if even a fraction of the rumors are accurate, we could be looking at a domino effect across fashion, sports, and entertainment. The FBI has already hinted that this investigation spans multiple states and multiple industries, which means this isn't just a human trafficking trial, it's a cultural reckoning, 20 years overdue. And through it all, we're left with a man who once danced in music videos wearing a fur coat and shades, now nervously clutching a courtroom water bottle while jury selection wraps up around him. Diddy has pleaded not guilty. He has the money to mount a world-class defense, but if the vault is real, and if more victims find the strength to speak, there may not be a defense strong enough to stop what's coming.
As far as, is he going to turn people in? Is he going to cooperate? If the federal government wants him to cooperate and they're going to cut his time, because right now he's looking at 15 to life. With all the charges he had to, he won't get out till 70 years old. He about 70. That's when they start talking about
For years, insiders have whispered what prosecutors never confirmed, that Diddy's untouchable aura may not have come from charisma or money alone, but from something far more strategic: protection from the inside. Multiple retired agents and 2 former associates have alleged that Diddy has operated as a confidential informant for the FBI, dating back to the early 2000s. The theory goes that by providing intel on other artists, crews, and even substances rings intertwined with the hip-hop industry, he earned a shield from scrutiny. It was a mutually beneficial arrangement, some claim. He stayed free, and federal agencies got what they wanted: access, names, leverage. This alleged relationship may explain why Diddy managed to skate past serious accusations for over 2 decades. While others around him were arrested, raided, or disappeared from the spotlight, Diddy seemed to defy gravity. Even when videos surfaced of violent outbursts or when lawsuits piled up from ex-employees and former partners, nothing seemed to stick. That invincibility wasn't just puzzling, it was suspicious. Behind closed doors, executives reportedly referred to him as untouchable. But now, with Homeland Security and federal prosecutors circling, the question arises: did the same machine that once protected him finally decide he was expendable?
And what's really going to be interesting is the parade of celebrities who we expect to be mentioned and or called into that courtroom. You know, people who we hadn't heard about prior, like Mike Myers, you know, Austin Powers, Mike Myers. Why is he getting called? Why is he on the witness list? That'll be fascinating. And then, of course, there are the no-name, quote unquote, women who are going to have to find every ounce of courage they have.
If he was cooperating, what changed? Some legal experts believe Diddy may have stopped providing useful information. Others think it's bigger than that his alleged crimes finally outpaced the value he offered. There's also the possibility that as his empire grew darker and more chaotic, he became a liability, the kind of liability that forces even the most complicit system to act. A source familiar with organized crime investigations said that once an informant crosses certain moral lines, especially when public outrage grows, the agency's hands are tied. The fallout becomes too large to bury. What makes this twist so chilling is the implication that federal protection may have indirectly allowed abuse to continue unchecked. If Diddy's alleged relationship with the FBI delayed investigations or discouraged local authorities from probing too deeply, then the system itself may be partially responsible for the scope of the damage. Survivors who tried to come forward in years past may have faced a wall of silence, not just from Diddy's lawyers, but from institutions supposedly built to protect them. And now that the curtain is being pulled back, we may not just be witnessing the fall of a man, but the exposure of a network that enabled him.
What's confusing is all of those things that you just said are also included in the racketeering count. So we don't know what the vote is. It's hard to read what they.
This raises a more unnerving possibility. What else has been hidden in those sealed files and redacted memos? If Diddy was indeed feeding information to federal agencies, there's a paper trail, and if that trail is ever made public, whether through court discovery or leaks, we may see just how deep the rabbit hole goes. Which artists were surveilled? Which crimes were overlooked? Which officials looked the other way? Because this might not just be a case of celebrity corruption. It might be a mirror reflecting something rotten in the institutions that were supposed to uphold justice. So we end here not with a verdict, but with a warning. If what Gene Deal, Suge Knight, and Cassie have exposed is just the beginning, then hip-hop's golden era might have a much darker legacy than we ever imagined. And the next witness, the next leak, the next raid could finally bring it all crashing down. But what do you think? Is Diddy just the face of something bigger? Or is he the puppet master of a hidden empire? Drop your thoughts in the comments, share this story with someone who needs to see it, and stay locked in. We're just getting started. Until next time, stay loud, stay skeptical, and keep your eyes wide open.